This conference will now.
Okay, let's get started. Just to recap what we discussed in last class, right? So we got to what is software development life cycle, and we have seen what was the popular methodology which we're using, which is waterfall methodology, and we have seen what is the different phases of waterfall methodology. Okay, like for example, we have seen what is the different phases, which is requirements phase and analysis phase, design phase, and design or a plan phase, and then we'll do development, do testing, deploy, and maintain or monitor. Okay. So if you see, these are the different phases of the waterfall methodology. So this is where we'll try to gather the requirements from the business or from the customer. Once we have that, we'll do the analysis, and when then we'll do the designing. Okay. So each and every is a phase by phase. Okay, every phase is dependent on the previous phase, has to be completed. Okay, and here various teams are involved. For example, we have architects, we have developers, we have testing team, we have operation team, and we have monitoring team. Now if you see here, you have a developer, local laptop. Once we got the requirements, this is his PC. So he will be having some of the editors, like for example, he is using Java based application. He use scripts to develop his application. Okay, once he complete his task, okay, what he will do, he will do some testing in his local laptop, and then he is going to publish or merge that code changes into the SCM tool, which is source code management tool. Okay, so what are the popular tools we have in the market? So one of them is GitHub, we have Bitbucket, GitLab, and Azure repos. Okay, so these are the popular version control system or source code management tools which are in the market. Okay, so like this we have multiple developers will be there. Okay, they use this tool to collaborate their work. Okay, so in team we have multiple developers will be there. Each and everyone will working on different tasks or features. Okay, so once they commit the code, once they merge code changes here, okay, so then what we will do, they will writing the code in the Java language, okay, which is not understandable by your server. When I say server, okay, we will have the, just compare with this your laptop, right? Your PC, what all you will be having, it have the CPU, RAM, and OS. It can be Windows operating system or Linux operating system. Okay, and then on top of it we're going to install an application. For example, if you're using Java based application, we use a web server called Tomcat, okay, or Apache 2. So these kind of application we will install, and then here if you see we have the code here, we are going to create a package with the help of a build tool. We can use a build tool called Maven, okay, or an ant, which is another build tool. So with the help of this build tool, okay, we'll compile that source code, which will produce an artifact, and then we'll deploy that artifact to the your server application. So this is a typical process. Okay, so the requirements, they will start writing the code. Once they develop the code, what they will do, they are going to push or merge the code into the source code management tools. Okay, once that is done, okay, we are going to use a build tool called Maven, which will help us to compile that code. So because we are writing in the Java language, which will be not understandable by your server. Okay, that is where we'll use these build tools, okay, to produce an artifact. That artifact will be deployed into the your application server, and then as a end users, okay, Flipkart, right, we can access the Flipkart from the browser, or we'll be having mobiles, right? Mobile we have that Using that, we are going to access that application. Okay, so in waterfall methodology, what used to happen? Everything is manual process. Okay, so each and every task is manual, and here developers as working as one team, and operations team who will do the deployment, who will maintain the infrastructure, right? They are also working as a different team. Okay, and again each responsibility. Due to that, the release of the application, when I say release, right, the complete process. Okay, so starting from developing, building, deploying. Okay, once this task is completed, then we'll call it as a one release. Deployment has been completed. Okay, so due to we are working as two different teams or different silos, the release of the deployment, okay, or the time taken to the release of that application is taking a lot of time. Okay, and always they will be having a lot of conflicts, okay, which will be delaying the application deployment, which will be delaying the application deployment. Because okay, the time to market again will be takes. Okay, that is where we have seen what is the agile methodology. Okay, under agile methodology we have a DevOps method. What we are doing in this method, we are this dev and operations team working as a one team, which is DevOps team. Okay, so now they will working as if they are working as a one team, and if something goes wrong, immediately they will get the feedback and developers can start fixing that. Okay, so here instead of working as two different teams, they are working together.
Harish, your voice is not audible.
This conference will now be recorded.
You are not audible, Harish.
Okay, Y- am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was speaking on mute. I'm sorry. So what I'm saying is, so in the previous class we discussed about what is SDLC. Okay, we discussed about what is the application development and release life cycle. Okay, so if you see the traditional approaches, which is waterfall methodology. So in case of waterfall methodology, what is happening is this is a typical phases. Okay, so we have a requirement phase, we have analysis phase, we have design and plan phase, we have development phase, we have testing phase, we have deployment phase, we have maintaining phase. So here every phase is dependent on the previous phase. Okay, and if you see, there are a lot of teams are, okay, working on this. We have developers, we have testing team, we have operations team will be there. Okay, every team has to wait till the previous team has to complete the requirement. What if the requirement has been changed in between? Okay, again it has to come from the beginning. Okay, so if you see, the typical workflow will be, we have developers. Once they got the requirement, okay, what they will do, they will start writing the code once in their local laptop. Okay, they will be having, they will be working on their local laptops. Okay, so they use some kind of editors like Eclipse or VS Code. Okay, so these are the some of the editors which they use to develop their code. Okay, once the task is done, what they will do, okay, and in case of, okay, so here what they will do, once the task is done, they're going to publish or they're going to push their code changes to the source code management tools. Okay, which is SCM. What are the different, what are the popular SCM tools are there in the market? We have GitHub, we have Bitbucket, and we have GitLab, and we have Azure Repos. These are the popular SCM tools are available in the market. Okay, so once the code changes has published to the SEM tool, okay, so these are developed in the Java language. Okay, we are going to Java.NET based on the application type. Okay, so we are going to use a build tool such as Maven or Ant to to compile that code. Okay, once the code is compiled, we'll be having a infrastructure, okay, which is, for example, servers or virtual machine. Okay, again, okay, so when I say server or virtual machine, it is just like your laptop, right? What are the different components of your laptop? Okay, it will be having CPU, memory, and it will be having OS. It can be your Windows server operating system 2012 or 2016 and 2019, or it can be Linux as well. Okay, and we need to install a web server. Okay, for example, let's say Apache 2. Okay, or if you're working on Windows, we have IIS, which is a Internet Information Service. So this is where, okay, so the main reason why we are compiling the code is find out if there are any bugs are there. Okay, and then your server will not understand the Java language. Okay, it will only understand the binary format. That is where we'll compile that, and which will produce an artifact, and then operations team will take that package, they will do the deployment. Okay, see here, this is a traditional way of, doing the application development and release. And in case of waterfall methodology, everything is manual. Okay, everything is manual. Due to that, the time to market, okay, will be very late. And here if you see, in traditional approach, what they're doing here, so we have operation, we have development team is there, we have operations team is there. They are working as a two different teams, are a silos based method basically. Okay, they're working as a two different teams. Due to that, the application release will be very less, which will take a lot of time. Okay, so and again, each team has their own responsibilities, and every time they used to get the conflicts. Okay, so developer will say, I have tested my application, everything is working fine, you deploy it. So operations team will take that package, they will try to deploy it. Sometimes of the missing dependencies, it will not work. Okay, that is another challenge. Again, operations team will send an email, okay, saying that this is not working fine, check your code. Okay, so this is what used to happen in the waterfall methodology. Okay, that is where, okay, to overcome these challenges, okay, so we have agile methodology or a DevOps method. What we are doing here, in case of DevOps, it's a methodology, it's not a tool or a software. Okay, and it's a best practices or it's a mindset. So here what we are doing, these developers and operations team working as a one team. Okay, and we'll call it as a DevOps team now. Okay, so here they are working as a one team, and here you can see what we will do here, right? So which will improve the Okay, for example, let's say developer is writing the code, and once they push the code, if he's facing any issues or because of some dependencies the build is failing. Okay, so as soon as build is failed, what DevOps engineer will do, immediately he will notify to the developers. Okay, and then they will fix immediately, and they can again do the same process. Everything is continuous here, which will help us to release your application to the market very faster. Okay, so the main purpose here, time to market, how much time it is taking to release new application to the market. Okay, so if we take a Facebook or if we take WhatsApp, okay, so you see how many changes are there these days. Okay, so if you log into WhatsApp, if you use WhatsApp, there are a lot of new features has been added. If you see now, for a message you can delete that, or you can edit that, or you can like that. Okay, or recently they introduced a poll option. Okay, so these are all the new features, right? So nowadays they release these new features very frequently. Okay, because everything is continuous in the DevOps methodology. Okay, continuous development, they will get the feedback, they will again start developing the code, they will publish the code changes to the SEM tool. Okay, as soon as the code changes has been published, okay, here the build pipeline will run. Okay, which will produce an artifact, again we'll take that artifact and then we'll do the deployment to the your infrastructure. Okay, so everything is continuous here, so that is where we have the DevOps practices. Okay, one of them is continuous development, where developers will be continuously developing based on the new features, based on the requirements. Continuous integration, continuous deployment, and microservice based architecture, and continuous monitoring, continuous feedback. Okay, so these are the some of the DevOps practices which will help us to, okay, do the release very frequently. Due to that, which will help us the time to market will be less time. In case of continuous development, as soon as developers get the requirement, we'll start working on that. Okay, so we can see another one of the popular interview question is CI, continuous integration and continuous deployment, CD. Okay, so they might ask you what is the DevOps practices, okay, and what is the difference between continuous integration and continuous deployment. Okay, so when they say continuous integration, what is mean by this? Okay, so basically if you see here, what is the life cycle we have seen here. Okay, as soon as, okay, he get the requirement, he will develop the code, and then he's going to publish the code changes to the your SEM tool. Okay, and when I say continuous integration, okay, so it's a software, CI is one of the software development practice where into SEM tools such as GitHub, okay, and as soon as the task is done, they're going to publish a code change. It can be multiple times. Okay, those changes are automatically, let me write it down and I can explain you that. So if you see here, when I say continuous integration, what it means is, so continuous integration is software development practice where developers do code changes into source code management tools several times per day. Okay, and those changes are automatically built, okay, and built and tested and ready for release. Okay, so as soon as developers commit the code, okay, so we have the build pipelines will run. Okay, it will and also what will happen, developers also will be writing some kind of test cases. Okay, again there is a different team will be there who will take care of that, but he will be writing some kind of unit test cases. Okay, so where it will be checking the, where he will be verifying or testing the a portion of a code. Okay, that will be committing along with their code itself. Okay, so it's a software development practice where developers will do the code changes. As soon as you do the code changes, which will automatically build and test it and ready for deployment. Okay, so that is what is meant by continuous integration. Okay, so what is the advantage if we follow this approach? Okay, why we are doing this continuous integration? So for example, if you see now, the developer has done his task and build will run. Because of some missing dependencies or because of some other issues, the build has been failed. Immediately there is a notification which will send back to the developer saying that your build is failing. So what he will do again, he will start fixing that issue or fixing that bug. Again, once that is verified, but that is fixed, he is going to do the same process. He will do again the code changes. Okay, again build will run. Okay, that is one of the benefit of using the continuous integration. Okay, another one is which will improve your developers productivity as well. Okay, so because immediately he's doing the build, okay, immediately build is running, immediately is going to notification saying that build is success or failure. Okay, another thing is it will also improve the code quality because we are continuously doing the integration, verifying that whether it is working fine or not. Okay, we are validating the code continuously. Okay, that is another advantage of using the continuous integration. Okay, the next thing we have is continuous deployment. Okay, again CDR, continuous deployment, it is a software development practice. Okay, after doing the continuous integration, the next phase is continuous deployment. As soon as the build is run, we're going to take that artifact and then we're going to deploy that artifact to the, or that package to the your infrastructure. So that is where we'll call that as a continuous deployment. Automatically after the merge, changes merge, build, test and do the deployment. Okay, so when I say continuous deployment, okay, so if you see in case of continuous integration, we are only doing the till testing. Okay, building and testing which will produce an artifact. So the next phase is continuous development. This is where we'll also do the build, test and do the deployment to the your end infrastructure. Okay, that is what continuous deployment means. So here what will happen is, what is that advantage using the continuous deployment phase? Okay, again it is automated process. As soon as the developer commits the code, CI will run. Okay, and once that is completed, we are going to do the release pipeline as well. Okay, as soon as it produce any kind of artifact, we'll take that and then we'll do the release to the your end infrastructure. Okay, and you can see what happens generally, we'll be having different environments. Okay, so minimum three. Okay, based on the application type to application type it will change. We have dev environment will be there. Okay, and we have test. Okay, we have stage and we have production. Okay, so minimum three. Okay, so based on the application type to application type, it may varies. Okay, so in case of DevOps, this is what the best practice which we'll follow. One is continuous integration and continuous deployment. Okay, another approach which we are following is microservice based architecture. Okay, so if you remember this, okay, so if you remember, for example, we taken the Flipkart application, right? So in case of waterfall methodology, what we are doing is, okay, so if you see, for example, you take Flipkart again, right? Flipkart has multiple functionalities. Okay, so we know login, okay, search, and we have add to cart, checkout, payment. Okay, I'm just taking some functionalities. Okay, so these are the different functionalities or modules of the Flipkart application. In case of waterfall methodology, what we are doing, we are following a monolithic application architecture. Okay, monolithic application architecture. To show you an example, okay, so if you see, in case of monolithic, okay, so you take again, this is one of the e-commerce example. If you see, so here they have multiple modules are there. Okay, payment module, shopping cart module, inventory module. Okay, so everything will be running on the uh, all these functionalities they will try to develop as one application basically. Okay, so these are the different functionalities, but in case of monolithic application architecture, what we were doing is we are trying to develop this as a one application. Okay, so in this case what will happen, it will be thousands of lines of code will be there. It looks like a one big application. Okay, see here, because we are treating it as a one complete application, even though we have different modules are there. Okay, we are not separating them, we are trying to develop as one application. And due to that, okay, so tomorrow if you want to scale this application, okay, let's say for example you want to add one more feature into this application, okay, which requires a downtime. Okay, so if you want to upgrade this application, we need to stop, we need to, if you want to upgrade this feature or if you want to add the new feature, first thing is we need to stop complete application, and then we need to work on that, or we need to add the new feature. This is what used to happen earlier days when they follow this monolithic application architecture. Okay, so if you see what is the disadvantages if you use this monolithic application architecture, okay, the development speed, okay, so which will be slower, and then you can, these are scalability, you cannot scale the individual components. Okay, because we are writing it as a one complete application, we are mixing all the features here. Okay, so if you want to scale only payment functionality or a shopping cart or inventory, okay, that is very difficult here. And the next thing is reliability. Okay, so you can see if there is an error in the any module, okay, which could affect a complete application availability. Okay, so if you see, for example, if some issue, some functionality is not working in the payment module, okay, then everything has impact on that. Okay, that is another challenge with the help of monolithic application architecture. Okay, and we can see deployment. Okay, a small change to monolithic application require a redeployment of the entire application. Okay, and okay, so here you can see if you use, we don't have an option here to use various technologies here, various development languages here. For example, here in case of monolithic, right, we need to use, if you are trying to develop a payment module using Java language, we need to use the same language for other functionalities or other features as well. We don't have that flexibility to choose the different languages or different frameworks. Okay, so these are the some of the drawbacks in case of monolithic application architecture. Okay, so that is where nowadays everyone is moving towards a microservice based architecture. And in case of monolithic application architecture, right, so the typical deployment of the application used to follow in the physical servers or a virtual machines. Okay, so this is where we'll do the deployment. Okay, earlier it was physical servers, now we have virtual machines. Okay, so due to these drawbacks, okay, To overcome this drawback, we have one more approach called. So here, in case of microservice based architecture, what we are doing is, where we are not going to develop as one big application. We are going to divide that into small microservices. Okay, based on the functional device, we are going to develop. We are going to divide that. For example, if you see, for login module, one microservice. For search module, one microservice. For payment module, one microservice, like that. We are going to divide that. You see, okay. We are going to divide this into small applications. Okay, let me show you one example. Okay, so you take this. If you see, okay, so in case of monolithic, it is like a one big application, whereas in case of microservice based architecture, what we are doing, we are dividing each functionality into one microservice, and each microservice will get one unique database. So if you want to use a different framework here or in this functionality, you are free to use, don't have any restrictions. And for example, if you want to only scale, let's say payment microservice, or I want to scale, let's say login functionality or login module, okay, I can do individually, which will not impact the complete application, and we don't need to get any kind of downtime. When I say downtime, okay, when I say Flipkart, I should get response. Okay? Whenever you're not getting the response, okay, that means that's a kind of a downtime because this application is not working. Okay, you see, so if you see earlier days we used to get some kind of downtime. Okay, but nowadays you take any application, right, it will be working on 24/7 and 365 days without any issues. Okay, so if we get some kind of downtime, what will happen, we are going to impact, that is going to impact your business. Okay, because people will do shopping in other e-commerce application. Okay, so this is the one more advantage of using the microservices. Okay, if you want to scale the individual functionality, you can scale it. Okay, and if you want to use different frameworks, you can use it. Okay, so this is the benefits of using the microservices. And what are the tools or services which you're going to use in case of microservice based architecture is Docker. And to maintain this Docker images or application, we're going to use Kubernetes, which is container orchestration tool. Okay, so in our course, we're going to discuss about AKS, which is Azure Kubernetes Service. Okay, again we'll see more about that. This is the first class, I don't want to talk more about this, we'll discuss again. Okay, again if you see, we have uh, continuous monitoring, so we're going to use various tools. Okay, so for example, we have Azure Monitor, Container Insights. Okay, and we're going to use Grafana, Prometheus. Okay, we're going to use these tools to monitor your performance of your application. Okay, and if something goes wrong, we need to fix that immediately by creating some kind of alerts. Okay, and we'll also configure some kind of alerts. Okay, something goes wrong, okay, in the build phase or in the release phase, we are going to immediately notify to the respective teams, so that the respective team will be working on that to fix that issues. Okay, so these are the some of the DevOps best practices which you're going to follow. Remember, DevOps is not a tool, DevOps is not a software. Okay, it's a basically it's a generally, if you say, right, dev and operations working as a one team. Okay, which will help us to, okay, release the application, which will help us the time to release the application to the market faster. Okay, so everything is continuous, everything is automated in case of DevOps. Okay, so now let's get started with one of the first DevOps tool, which is it or source code management tool. Okay, so if you see, right, in the, as I mentioned earlier, okay, so currently there are various SEM tools are available in the market. Okay, so these are the popular tools, right? One is GitHub, Bitbucket, Azure Repos, and we have GitLab. The functionality remains same, okay, based on the uh, again, if you see, GitHub is from Microsoft, they acquired it, and Bitbucket is from the Bitbucket company, if I'm not wrong, and we have Azure Repos and we have GitLab. Okay, I think it is Atlassian GitLab. Okay, so now based on the the functionality remains same. Okay, here and there they have some added advantages are there because of the features which they have. So GitLab has some more features compared to other SEM tools. Okay, so now, so if you see here, we have developers. They will develop the code in their local laptop, and then what they will do, they are going to use this SEM tool such as GitHub. Okay, so once their task is done, they are going to publish or push their code changes to the your GitHub. So this is where first what we need to do, we need to create one GitHub account. Okay, and we need to create a repository. When I say repository, it is nothing but it's a storage where we store the your code, source code basically, or it's a kind of a folder where we're going to store the source code. Okay, the first thing what we need to do, we need to sign up an account with the GitHub. Okay, so here if you see GitHub, right, so GitHub is managed by Microsoft. Okay, and it is available in two editions. Okay, one is free, okay, where if you are learning GitHub or you are trying to explore GitHub, it is free for us. Okay, and we have one more thing called GitHub Enterprise. Okay, GitHub Enterprise. So this is where organization what they will do. Okay, they are not going to use a free one because it is publicly available. They are going to use a GitHub Enterprise. This is where they need to purchase a license from the Microsoft and from the GitHub, and then they will get one dedicated repository for them, dedicated GitHub for them. Okay, there they can save their source code, store their source code basically. Okay, so now to let's see how to create a GitHub free account. Okay, search for github.com. Okay, so you can see here we have an option called sign up. Click on sign up. Okay, so it will ask you the few details, for example, what's your name, what's your email address. Okay, so I will say my email ID. It says, okay, create a password. It's like creating a Gmail account or Outlook account, right? Continue. It should be unique. It says it's available. Continue. And once you provide that, okay, it's would you like to receive product updates? I'll say no. Okay, and then you need to verify this puzzle, and then you are good to create a GitHub account. Okay, so I already have one account. Okay, so what I will do, I will log into that GitHub account. Once you create an account, it is going to ask you your username and password. Okay, or your user ID and password. So you can see this is my GitHub account. So this is the which currently I'm using a free version and it is publicly accessible. Okay, and if you see here, as soon as I create an account, right, we need to create one organization. You see, if you click on this plus symbol, you can see we have an option here. Okay, basically it represents your organization. Okay, so let's say for example, if you're working for a company called IBM, right, we need to create one organization with that name. Okay, and you can also create multiple organization under one account. Okay, so let's create one new organization. So okay, see, these are the different plans, okay, which we have. Okay, so you can see we have free version is there. Okay, and we have, you can see we need to pay around $3.6. if you're going to use this one. Okay, and we have enterprise version also is there. Okay, so for now I'm going to use with the free one. You can see what and all I will get. Okay, click on create, provide the name, it should be unique. Okay, you can see it is already taken. Okay, which is available. Okay, I'm creating this organization, this name should be unique. Okay, and I will add my email address. Okay, and I will say this is my personal account. Don't say business or institution to lose other details. I'll say it's my personal account. And again, they have given this option recently to verify or for more security. I'll say verify. Okay, pick one square that shows two identical. Okay, and click on next. Okay, so now first thing is we need to create an organization. First we need to create a GitHub account, and then we need to create an organization. Okay, I'll say. Okay, so now this is my organization. Okay, first step is to create one organization. And the next thing is we can create a team or we can create a repositories. Okay, so it's like a folder where you will store your source code. Okay, where you're going to store your source code. Let's create one repository. Okay, so what I'll say Flipkart. Okay, it's available, and if you want you can add the description. It's my e-commerce application, and there are two things are there. Okay, so there are two type we can create. One is public repository, or if you want to create as a private repository. When I say public repository, anyone on the internet can see this repository, and you can choose who can commit the code. Again, I'll come back to this. Okay, when I say private, you choose who can see and commit. Public means anyone can able to see this repository basically. For now I'll keep it as public. Okay, and there are some other options are there, we'll come back to this. Let me create a repository. You can see now, you can see my repository has been created, and you can see here there are a lot of options are there. Okay, so one of the option you can see is settings. Okay, let's say for example if you want to rename this repository, or if you want to if you want to delete this repository, we can do that from here. You can see there is an option called danger zone. If you want to change the visibility, let's say for example from public repository to public to private or private to public, we can see we can change it. If you want to change the ownership, or if you want to delete this repository because of some reason, okay, that is also possible. From this place we can delete it, we can delete the repository as well. Okay, so now I created a repository. Now I need to provide access to the my team members, because you can see even they also need to publish the code, right? Okay, there are multiple people are working on that. They need to push their code changes as well. Okay, you see, so now I'm having access. I need to provide access to my other team member also. Okay, that is where how can we do? Okay, go to your organization. Okay, you can see there is an option called teams. Okay, and you can also invite the people as well. Okay, for example I will add the teams. You can see right now I don't have any teams. What I will do, I will create one team. Okay, for example I will say Flipkart dev team. Okay, Flipkart dev team, and you can provide the description, and for now keep it the visibility as visible. Okay, and enable the notification and create a team. So once we create the team, we can add the members. Okay, so we're going to create a different groups. For example, for developers we'll create one team. Similarly, for testing team we'll create another team. For operations we'll create one more team, like that. Okay, and you can see I can add the members here directly. Okay, we need to invite that user first. Okay, once he accept the invitation, then he will be part of this group or a team. Okay, so I'm adding my email ID for the first time, one more email ID. Okay, so you can see he's going to get invitation to add to be part of this team. Click on add and invite. Okay, so once he accept the invitation, so let me accept that invitation from my mobile, and I should be able to. Okay, I have received the invitation. Now what I'm doing, so if we anyone have if you could share the email ID, I can also add their ID here. Okay, so I'll just say join. Anybody having any if you and remember, you should be already created an account with the GitHub. Only that users can be invited to this. Okay, just a second, I'm just trying to log in. Okay, okay, anyway, so basically first thing is we need to accept that the user has to accept this invitation. Okay, and then he can able to log into the he can able to get the access to the team. Okay, our team, and you can see if you want you can change the role also. Okay, so you can change the role as well. Basically if we say select, and I have an option to uh, this is a filter, not from here. Go to members. From here I should be able to change. Okay, you can see we have an option called change role. Okay, there are two roles, one is maintainer and one is member. Okay, so maintainer can able to add and remove the team members, and member has no administrative permissions to the team. Okay, so you can also change the role for that specific user. Okay, so first thing is we need to create an organization. Okay, once you create the organization, we can create the repository, and then we can also invite the users, and then that users can be added to the specific team as well. So now we need to see, we created one repository. Now we need to provide access to that repository for the user. Okay, so I need to add that repository for the user so that you can see this is my team, and you can see this team doesn't have any repository access. What I will do, I will say, okay, you can see this is my repository. I'll say add, and add repository to the team. So now whoever is part of this team, Flipkart dev team, they are all going to get access to this specific repository. Okay, you can also you can also set the permissions as well. Okay, whether you want to only create read, array, write, array, maintain. Okay, you can see there are some options are there. You can read, clone, push. We'll discuss about that. Okay, so this is what you have to do. First, create an account with the GitHub, and create a repository. Sorry, create an organization, and create a repository, and create a team, and provide access to that team. Okay, so now you can see here, this is the, we'll call this as a remote repository. Okay, and you can see the URL. Okay, so this is my URL. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so if you see, if I have multiple organizations, if I go to my organization, here I have an option to change. Okay, which one you want. For example, I will say, okay, you see the name, this will be the my organization name. Okay, this is my organization name, github.com/orgs/azure academy 009. Okay, similarly, if you see, there is specific URL for your team as well. Okay, so if you go to the repositories, okay, so these are my repositories, and if you click on this repository, okay, so you can see this is what the URL it will get. Okay, so for now, just for some time, forget about this, we'll discuss about that in tomorrow's class. Okay, but if you see here, this is your repository. Okay, so this is common for everyone. Okay, and this organization is unique. Under that you have my repository. Okay, and this is the remote repository. Okay, and even we don't know where it is hosted. Okay, because this is one of the software as a service offering, like for example Gmail, right? Gmail we are using. Okay, so we don't know where it is hosted, we don't know where it is. It is somewhere in uh, the cloud, but we don't know where exactly it is. Okay, that is maintained and managed by Google. And in case of GitHub also is one of the software as service offering. This will be maintained by Microsoft itself. Okay, so this is the remote repository. Okay, remote repository. And to work with the remote repository from your local laptop, we are going to install one software called Git software. This is like a client. Okay, so you can see in your local laptops, we are going to use this Git. It's a kind of a software and a client which used to perform the all the Git activities and to push the changes to the your GitHub remote repository. Okay, see here, this is my remote repository, this is my local laptop. I need to install Git client to work with the your GitHub. Okay, so now so again, this is a kind of a client which you need to install in the your local laptop to work on that repository, remote repository basically. Okay, so tomorrow we'll see how to install this and what are the different options are there, what are the different things we need to do to work with the remote repository. Okay, so any doubts so far on this, anyone? Okay, so what you have to do for today, try to create, okay, GitHub account and create an organization. Okay, and create a repository and create a team and provide access. Okay, so these are the tasks which you can practice today. Okay, so tomorrow we'll see how to install Git. Okay, so why exactly we're going to use Git, what is the advantages, and what are the different options are there under the Git. Okay, fine. Any doubts so far, anyone on this?
In this free repository Git, we have any limitations, or we are allowed to use any task?
No, if you see while creating the organization, it was clearly showing some advanced features. For example, let's say, um, let me show you. So there are some, but if you want to learn GitHub, this is sufficient. Okay, but in case of real time where you are going to use in the organization, right? That time they use a GitHub Enterprise. Okay, but if you see here the features, what and all they're mentioning, And if in case of free tail account, you can see what and all we're getting. Okay, we can create unlimited public and private repositories. Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. Okay, this will be more than sufficient for us to practice to learn this GitHub as well with the free tail account. Okay, and in case of
Okay.
enterprise, you can see which includes this free plus this popular features, and also they will be adding some more features to this. For example, let's say SAML single sign-on and some other options are there which may be required in the production environment.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Any other doubts, guys? Okay, fine. So if we don't have any doubts, that's all for today. Try to practice these things, and tomorrow we'll start with the Git. Okay, Git and Git commands.